I want to talk about people who mask themselves with your essence, with your energy. This is something that isn't really discussed. At least I haven't seen it discussed. And I really want to talk about it to remove like the glorification of this idea that imitation is flattery, right? It's not. People who imitate others typically have the desire to eventually delete that person or basically absorb them. In truth, it's a form of like spiritual and energetic cannibalism. And it's typically done out by narcs and people who have extremely low self esteem. These people think that by imitating you, the things that you wear, how you speak, how you dress, down to your life story, that they'll be able to garner the level of respect, attention, praise, and whatever else that you get from the masses because they genuinely think that you are wise and all of the great things other people do. They're not going to acknowledge it because they're jealous and because they feel inferior to you in some kind of way. So they in turn will utilize, energy siphoning and imitation as a way to mask themselves as you, right? It goes hand in hand. They vampire your energy, they drain your energy, and then they imitate your habits, they imitate your mannerisms, they imitate the things that you do so that they energetically can be read, like frequency wise, by other people the same way that you are, so that they can be received by others in that way. I first noticed this with a girl that I had been friends with for a long time that really suffered with like low self-esteem. And she had even admitted to being extremely jealous of me, which shocked me because I saw her as my sister. So it really hurt me when she said that, because my life was so imperfect and I didn't have a lot of the social benefits that she had or the support system that she had, and she knew that. But again, it's not what's on you, it's what's in you. And I noticed that when she would be around some of our shared friends, but that were a little bit closer to her than me, she would never invite me to hang out with them, but I would always invite her out, regardless if she knew the people or not, blah, 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 because she was one of my best friends. And I noticed that after a while, she would almost like gatekeep these people. She would gatekeep a lot of things from me, right? Would ask me to be an open book about my life, situations, all these things, but would gatekeep things. And upon hanging out with her and these girls, they started mentioning certain things that she would say. And I was like, she didn't say that. I said that. She didn't say that. I said that. I'm the one who said that. She didn't say that, right? I was young and I didn't know or understand this concept, but she was going around these people pretending to be me. Pretending to be me. Using my wisdom, using my intelligence, using my phrases, and pretending to be me. I would even started to see like, copying. She would ask like, oh, can we do the same hairstyle? Like, can I do the same hairstyle as you? And I would be like, for sure. But then it started to become like taking pictures the way that I do, wearing outfits the way that I do, all of these things in order to become me. And she's not the only one that's done this. I've had multiple people try to swap destinies with me. I've had partners do this where they'll go around their friends saying all of these great intellectual things and, quoting these authors that they've never read and, you know, saying these phrases and making it out to seem like it's their intelligence. It's them who said that, when in truth it was me. So then when I'm hanging out with their friends and, I'm speaking, they're like, oh, I understand why you and him are together. I understand why you guys are together because you think so similarly. Yes, there's shared aspects, but, I am uniquely myself. I was watching the Level Up Guru, and she had said something that has really stuck with me for a long time. And at first I didn't understand, but now I do completely. She would be like, I do not like when people, I don't want anyone to compare themselves to me or say that they're similar to me, because they're not, right? You are you, I am me. As you rise in frequency and intelligence, especially energetically, as you rise in frequency and awareness, there are going to be levels of understanding that you share with other ascended beings, right? Especially like ascended masters. As I ascend, there are certain thoughts, certain ideologies that, I get downloaded, and then boom, I'll read Nietzsche, and Nietzsche too had that same conclusion or thought, right? Claircognizance, boom. Or Plato had a similar thought, right? It's not to be like, yeah, I'm as smart as Plato because the Greeks had Plato, y'all got me. But it is to say, like, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is about frequency and levels of ascension, right? The higher you ascend, the more access to higher information you have. But that isn't to say that you're going to communicate or embody those beliefs the same way. No, because great thinkers have shared similar thoughts throughout history, but they've learned to convey those thoughts and messages differently. Their own unique style, their own interpretation, through their experience and understanding of the world around them, right? They embody that knowledge and it becomes wisdom. And that's where they teach. And so no one is like you, right? We are one, but there is only one you. And so when people do that and try to attach themselves to you spiritually, just in general, and especially spiritually, it's very dangerous, because that's where imitation begins. That's where they start to try to put a claw in you, right? They try to attach themselves energetically to you. I literally had a dream where a girl that I was friends with for a long time, I broke the bond, and I had prayed and spoken over the connection, and, disconnected and cut that cord. And I even did a cord cutting ritual. And she'd sensed it like they always do. She attempted to talk to me and whatever, have a conversation with me. And I had a moment of weakness where I said something that made her think that everything was okay. So then she attached energetically. And in my dream, I saw her trying to cling to me energetically. And I had to literally remove her from me and cut the cord. And she was screaming like, no. That's why I say narcissism is also spiritual warfare. Okay? These people are trying to connect themselves to your essence and to your energy. You also have to understand that when they do this, they're trying to take your abundance, especially when you are a high vibrational person, especially when you are a chosen one or someone who has a lot of favor and anointing. You have the ability to manifest immense blessings, especially as an awakened divine feminine. So people try to attach themselves energetically. It goes down to family, and I'm going to talk about this in my spiritual warfare, in conversations about spiritual warfare more, but in my own experience with spiritual warfare. But this is something that is not just, it's not just something that you should joke about, right? It is very dangerous, and it does cause a lot of blockages in your life. So it's meant to take it seriously, right? Cut those cords.